speaking of like Instagram and TikTok, I think something I'm trying to figure out, which I haven't really come up with a system, or I don't really know what to do, to be honest, is like every so often I'll share something fitness related on my Instagram. Like I'll post something, but like I want to put that part of me out there. Like my Instagram and like what people know me as is that like cinematographer, that DP. And in the traditional filmmaking space, it's like you kind of want to be known as that thing. And I'm like, how do I start a new page of like the other thing that I want to share, which is fitness and like running and lifting and health and, philosophy. I mean, that's part of what this
Mm.
podcast is, but because you separated your YouTube between your filmmaking and photography side to Floberg runs, I guess just like what was your mentality behind separating the two? And if you feel that, I guess looking at my, like from looking at me, is it worth kind of separating the two?
Yeah, I mean, strictly from a business perspective, unless you're someone like Casey Neistat or Marcus from Minted, like these people who make it their whole brand and personality of combining these things. Where I look at
Mm-hmm.
Minted, they're like doing business and training, and they're just one and the same,
Yeah.
and it works.
Mm-hmm.
And Casey championing running virtually every day to be part of his creative process and in his vlog and a part of who he is. I feel like unless you're willing to do that, you should probably separate them, because what I realized is I tried sharing running stories, training races, on my main channel, on my Instagram, and no one cared. Like, sure, some people here and there, but there was no proof of concept in the same way that I saw growth in the creative realm. And so I thought, I'm like, it just honestly just feels from a media output standpoint, a business perspective, it feels like I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot if I'm constantly blabbing on about this because people aren't interested in it. And so that was completely reinforced when I made the separate thing and found that audience. And it was then where I built that other thing, and then all of the overlap people started following both, where they're like, I love the creative stuff and I love the running, and I follow both channels. And it gives that person who's sort of, that slice of the Venn diagram, it gives them the ability to follow both, but it's not forced in like one specific lane on one specific channel, because those are then really the only people that are going to like regularly show up to watch that stuff. And if that part of the Venn diagram isn't super large, you can't really make a business or a brand out of it. So what's crazy is the running stuff now for me, like my main channel is I've let it take a backseat for a while. Haven't been consistent with it in the way I have in the past. But the running stuff is just, it's so explosive. Like it's just, I haven't seen the kind of like following and like people actually committed to.
Yeah. I'm looking at your page right now. It's insane.
Yeah. It doesn't feel fair because we're just doing pretty typical, like run of the mill filmmaking stuff we're used to. But in that space, that's like A+.
It's rare.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So it feels completely unfair, but that's something I love championing too. It's like use your unfair advantages in niches where you're really passionate and see what comes of that, because it's a buzzword, but like the authenticity of it, where I'm sharing a workout where I'm really struggling, or I'm like actually showing myself puking on the sidelines as I'm doing a long run workout. People are like, that's me. I feel that. I know that emotion. I know that feeling. I know what you're going through, and they relate. And man, I can't even begin to tell you the interactions I've had in person with people at races. Like the amount of people coming up and just being like, you helped me on my way to this goal. Like I kept up every single week with the series, and it motivated me to stay consistent. And just saying things like, I wouldn't have been able to train this whole block without your series. And I'm like, it's insane. It's so cool. Yeah. Dozens, hundreds of people showing up to shakeout runs. Like it's so unique and so cool. And like, obviously that's still happening on the creative front, like with the documentary and events like that as well. And it's a different experience. But again, when it's stripped down to that, very human, very simple task of running and connectedness through that. I don't know. There's just something really, really palpable there.